Hello and welcome back to the channel. It's Motions Biz here, and thank you for once again tuning into the channel and continuing to support the channel. So, anyway, I would like to go a little deeper on a discussion regarding internal credit score because we have new Navy Federal members who are actually not aware that Navy Federal uses an internal scoring. And I know that there are thousands probably of YouTube videos out there talking about internal score. But let me get a little deeper into this topic and understanding what is internal score really about and why should we be concerned with that when you are with Navy Federal. And of course, with banks in general, they have their own internal credit scoring. But Navy Federal is a little more open about it because you can actually see your internal credit score on any documentation that you receive after you get denied credit or you get a high interest rate. But internal credit scoring happens everywhere. When you get a mortgage, when you do auto loans, but this is just the way the financial industry works. Okay. Internal credit scoring is basically just is a complete numerical score using both quantitative and qualitative metrics to estimate various credit predictors of a market participant or a consumer, basically. So you will notice that there are two things that really matter here, okay, with internal credit scoring. Quantity and quality, those are the two predictors that they would refer to. Okay, with external credit scoring, they would look at two things here. They want to determine your unsecured credit allowance. That means how much they want to give you. And this happens all the time with Navy Federal when they do check your credit score and your internal score to determine your approval amount and if you will ever be approved. Lenders would usually look at a person's ability to repay the loan, and that would include checking and reviewing balance sheets, tax returns if you are employed, pay stubs, your pay slips, or any deposits that you may be making. Now, as it relates to Navy Federal, one way of meeting this quantitative requirement to boost your internal credit score is to make direct deposits with Navy Federal. And that is why Navy Federal loves direct deposits, because they can pretty much see how much you're making, how regularly are you making deposits. And not only that, but remember, they thrive on those deposits. Not just your direct deposit, but if you have certificates of deposit, you have money market going on with Navy Federal, they would really love you, okay? So that is why for credit beginners, even just to get started with a Save First account and the Easy Certificates account, which is only about $55 to start with, and as soon as you build that up, slowly, even just making small deposits, it actually shows your discipline and your willingness to save. And did you also notice that on every application that you make, not just with Navy Federal, but with other banks, they would always ask for your employer, or if you have a business, or what your profession is, because again, those are predictors of your ability to repay your loan. Under qualitative predictors, these things come into play, okay? You're paying on time on all your loan amounts, your credit cards. That is one predictor. Again, low utilization comes and falls under qualitative predictors or criteria to assess your internal credit risk score, the age of accounts you have. What is your experience with having all these accounts? So that will be looked into. Now, the types of accounts you have, are they installment loans? Are they lines of credit? Are they revolving loans? So this fall under this category. And that is the reason why if you are a credit beginner and you are trying to boost your internal credit score with Navy Federal, that is why the pledge loan makes a big impact boosting your relationship with Navy Federal. Just to give you a different perspective on the internal credit score is that it's not just Navy Federal that does internal credit scoring. All lending institutions have this, okay? And they use those predictors to determine your credit worthiness. Now, with Navy Federal, Yes, you can focus on just building up and boosting your personal credit profile. You may have a great external credit score, and that is from the three credit bureaus. But remember, you can still likely get denied with Navy Federal if you are new to Navy Federal. You're not using a lot of their products. So just remember, it is a score. When you take a test and you have a score, there are things that you have to meet. You have to be able to answer the questions on that test for you to have a score. So just like with internal credit score, there are criteria that you have to meet. So if you do not meet that criteria, you can likely get denied for credit. And that is the reason why, even if you have a great credit score out there externally, you still really have to work on your relationship with Navy Federal, because that comes into play when you apply for their loan products. Just be aware that out there, for financial institutions, they always have their own internal credit scoring system. They will give you the result of your credit score externally, but internally, they have that assessment, and they do not always have to divulge to you how they came up with that system, because it is inherent and it is different per company. They have different criteria. So that is why there are companies that would lend you or would give you a loan even if your credit score is very low, because they are using other predictors. Okay, you may have a low credit score but you have good income. So all these things come into play, and I just want to share with you how this works. Okay, because in my other life, I was actually in the mortgage banking business, and being a licensed mortgage broker, we have to deal with these different companies, and we have to fit our client to a specific lending company that have a different criteria or predictors that they use to qualify a buyer. With Navy Federal, the internal credit score is something that you cannot just ask them about, okay? But if you are either denied for a credit card or got a high interest rate, then you will see that on the paperwork, usually on the back of the first page of the documents that is sent with your credit card, because they are required by law to inform you about the cost of the credit that you are getting. But if you got a good interest rate, then you will not see that. And in my experience with my credit cards with Navy Federal, I did not see that on the paperwork that I received. So I actually e-messaged them, and they were able to give me my internal credit score for that specific application. With Navy Federal, their internal credit score ranges anywhere from 100 to 450, 450 being a very good score. So anyway, thank you for hanging out with me. It's Motions Biz, and until next time,